Is Gucci YouTube? It's your boy Black with you, three long face skinny body, and as you can see, we are back, still black with some more fire Boruto manga related content. Now, before we get into the video, don't you already know the dealio? Don't forget to this is a hard picture right here. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, smash that like button, share the video with your friends. We are going through the timeline today, as you can tell, chat right. So we got Boruto 2 Blue Vortex chapter 22. Oh, they dubbing him the strongest. I can't be mad at it. You feel me? Boruto is cold, bro. Boruto is very cold, right? As amazing as chapter 22 was, we got some cold shots, time skip Boruto, Jura picking up the sword. As amazing as this chapter was, right? This is actually a great little note I wanted to add. It's pretty obvious, guys. He baited Jura into picking up this sword and then flying Rajan over to him, right? Especially once you get into more details into the chapter. But even the dialogue he says, it just lets you know he's trying to figure out a way to charge up the Uzuhiko. He's like, all right, how about this? And then immediately after that, he gets hit. Now, I don't say he anticipated getting hit that hard. Jura is just a walking tank. But it provided him the opportunity to charge up that Uzuhiko, right? And then he let Jura pick up the sword. Boom, fly Raijin, yada yada. You already know the dealio. But like I was saying, as amazing as this, I ain't gonna cap, bro. I gotta get off of this because all of these pictures gonna get damn near just get me make another review for y'all. But as amazing as this chapter was, man, Uzuhiko vibes over here. Shout out to Nani Core with the amazing art. We are not actually going to be talking about this chapter. We are going to be talking about my guy, Ikemoto, big Ikemoto, right? So what we got over here, I had everything set up for you guys, right? Of course, we got the chapter cover and we got a Q&A. Recently, Ikemoto did a Q&A. It's only 8 questions. Now, mind you, what I do appreciate about this is because usually when Ikemoto or Kishimoto do Q&A, no jab to the fans, but y'all ask him some really redundant and like unnecessary questions. Questions that don't got nothing like what type of cat do you like? Like ain't nobody Ikimoto cares about his cat. But if we keeping it a buck, ain't nobody care about Ikimoto's cat. We trying to see what's going on with the story. You feel me? So like I appreciate this interview. This is actually one of the better interviews aside from the joint interview that Ikimoto and Kishimoto did together a few months ago. Back in 2024. But this one actually good questions. I think it's celebrating either a Naruto anniversary or a Boruto 99 anniversary. I'm not sure which one it is, but Ikimoto was able to do an interview. Answered 8 great questions regarding Tubu Vortex, and we're going to go over these 8 questions. And a few of them actually caused a couple of stir in the timeline, which even brought to my attention because a lot of people started, I pay attention. Anybody in my Gekko gang, you start circulating in the viralness, you start circulating in the community. I got to see what's going on. So Himawari was circulating inside of the community, and I had to see like people were upset that she was living by herself. I'm like, where do y'all get this information? Turns out Ikemoto did an interview, right? So we're gonna go ahead and start it off. And it's a lot of interesting things. So just to get that out the way, question one, all right, is tell us why Boruto changed the way he called Sasuke. For those of y'all who haven't picked it up, Boruto previously called Sasuke Old Man Sasuke or just Sasuke, right? After he left, we start to see vividly like he refers to him as Master or Master Sasuke. And Ikimoto answered this by saying, after he helped Sasuke, he's referring to, after Sasuke helped Boruto escape Konoha, Boruto felt that Sasuke was really his master and that he was his pupil. He started to call him Shisho, which is master, the next day, right? And Sasuke was reluctant at first, typically within Sasuke's character, you know what I'm saying? But he was indeed Boruto's master, so he gradually accepted it. Look at that, you know what I'm saying? Camaraderie between the two. Imagine if Sasuke even had his true memories. It would even be more like a, that's crazy. Hey, you know what I'm saying? Look at the love and the bond between these two master and students. It's real amazing. Ikemoto is able to give us a little bit more insight on what happens after Boruto and Sasuke leaves the village. And we see in one of the earlier flashbacks when Boruto's eye patch is, covered in bandages, we understand that Sasuke gave him that treatment, right? So for the most part, but around that time, that's when he started saying, like, yeah, bro, you're Master Sasuke for sure. Hands down. You know what I'm saying? All right, shout out Mangekyo gang members. We got more Mangekyo gang members on question 2, Ada and Damon, right? So this one's not as important, but a little interesting, right? Ada and Damon have cosmic/space modifications, accessories on them. Why is that, right? Real interesting, right? I wish they probably would have asked more about their eyes. Like we know Ada eyes represent a dojutsu. What about Damon's eyes, right? But Ikemoto says, I wanted them to stand out from usual Boruto Naruto characters, which they actually do, which is why it's Big Damon. And if you guys didn't know, my like these are in my top five characters. Like Damon is my fourth favorite character. Ada is my third favorite. After Boruto and Sarada, it goes Ada, Damon, and then Himawari. Like I don't know if I made that. I'm pretty sure I made it clear, but just to let y'all know, it goes Ada, Damon, Himawari. Right, top five. But anyways, I wanted them to stand out from usual Boruto Naruto characters, and since they are two characters with extraordinary abilities, I thought a cosmic modification would fit their design, right? And shout out to Felix. I'm pretty sure I already said this at the start. Shout out to Felix EZ for these translations, the ones that I am using. At the very least, I know a couple of people translated them, right? Question three, you know what I'm saying? The star of the gang, Big Himawari Uzumaki, right? Was the power, this is a really great question. I appreciate question three for asking this question, a little bit more clarification, and we can actually make another video on this moving forward. Was the power Damon felt from Himawari actually Kurama's? Damon actually felt, this is Ikemoto's answer, the future synergy, the basically the fusion of of the potential of Himawari, who is Uzumaki and Hyuga, so basically her bloodline, the truth behind her parents and the ancestry, that Hamura and Hagoromo connection, right? Um, and Kurama's chakra. So basically, Damon sensed the combination of her bloodline from her and her parents' history and Kurama's chakra synergizing, right? So that's what Damon sensed when we see him back in part one, and Himawari walks past the store. So a lot of people are saying, like, did he sense Kurama? Yes, but now he didn't just sense Kurama's chakra. He sensed Kurama's chakra and her potential stacked on top of that. Basically, the strongest possible version Himawari could be. So I'm not sure if y'all taking this as like, this is me taking it as like, for sure, Damon is the strongest in the verse. Because if he sensed that, right? And he's like, bro, you might be able to, you know what I'm saying, hang with me on a, you know? And then we all know that Jura essentially was just sensing Kurama's chakra. He wanted the Nine Tails chakra. And he low dipped her. I already admitted probably 10 to 20% of Jura's power. He took out Himawari, yes. But he still admitted, like, yo, you're actually very strong, right? So I don't know. I feel like Jura's reacted to different power that Damon's reacted to. I always say this. Damon got some hidden sense and ability, and he sensed the true hidden potential within Himawari, not just Kurama's chakra and her connections with the Biju, but her Hyuga and Uzumaki bloodline chakra and synergy on top of that. Everything. I'm talking Byakugan nonsense, like all of that in one. So Damon was able to sense all of that potential from Himawari, which is why he got excited. Right now, question four. What this is actually a very interesting question. I'm not gonna lie to y'all, chat. What is written in the books that Jura always reads? So we thought Jura was an intellectual reader. It turns out this guy is a very philosophical writer. So Jura is actually writing his own personal notebook. It contains various informations, daily discoveries, and things that he's curious about. It's an important tool for him to keep track of the growing mass of information he learns on a daily basis. So Jura goes by, he sees a color blue. He's like, that's blue. Let me write that down. That's what the color blue looks like. He sees a color purple. He's like, why does that look like blue? Right? He says, the color purple. And then he sees the color red. He's like, oh, red. He said, that kind of looks like the purple, but also like the blue. And then he figures out, oh, wow. So if you mix red and blue, you get purple. These are the type of things that he's doing daily, right? Obviously, in regards to the shinobi lifestyle and the humanity that he witnesses around him, but he's actually writing all of these books. Now, I ain't gonna say all of them unless he's buying these empty notebooks from the bookstore and he's filling up the pages. But I believe it's like a mix, right? So a lot of the books he's writing, like when he pulled up on Team 10 and he pulled out that book and had Shikadai's name in it, I believe that's probably information he wrote down or he jotted down himself. But Ikemoto confirmed it himself. Jura is a author, bro. He is an author. All right, question five. During his talk with Amato, Boruto sees a glimpse of the future. Is it related to Koji's 10 direction / prescience ability? Look, these are great questions, guys. Like, let's keep up this type of energy whenever Ikemoto or Kishimoto decides to bless us with their presence and ask these type of useful questions. All right, so Ikemoto says it's one of Momoshiki's personal abilities that allows him to see bits and fragments of the future. So this is confirming Ikimoto's confirming it. Momoshiki and Kashakoji do not have the same ability, and Kashakoji's ability is superior to Momoshiki's ability. It may seem similar to Koji's ability in some ways, but unlike prescience, it's not a shinjutsu and is considered inferior in terms of performance. So we understand Momoshiki only gets bits and fragments, which is why the things that he sees, he confirms them as absolute. Whereas Kashin Koji sees the entire picture and he understands its possibilities in various changing realities that are occurring. Question 6. Where and how does Himawari live? Like now, this is where Himawari started to go viral around a few days ago, and how I even came across this interview. So, at her own request, this is Ikemoto answering. She lives alone in her family's home. She feels that they will somehow return, and wants to protect their home until they return. So, people are actually bashing Ikemoto because of this, when it's like, Kawaki was the one who did it, and Ikemoto just answered the question like, this is her own choice. It's not like the village is saying, yeah, we don't really care about what's happening to her. She decided, no, I'm going to stay here by myself. I'm going to take care of the house. Why? Because my family isn't gone. They're going to come back, right? So ain't nobody letting Himawari do this by herself. Ain't nobody letting that. They understand that this is her choice and they're going to respect her choice, right? And shout out to Himawari for actually making these type of choices and living up to this type of way. You know what I'm saying? Big Uzumaki, big star of the Mangekyo gang, right? Question 7. What's Kawaki's favorite takoyaki flavor? Now, this is actually a little nod because he actually did start off liking chocolate. And then I think in one of the special shots of a chapter, Ikemoto drew him tasting the bean place flavor. And then Kawaki fell in love with that one, right? So at first he liked the chocolate best, but it didn't take long for him to settle down with bean place flavor. Not that big of a question, right? Now, question 8. And the last question, and one of the more intriguing ones also. How do Shinjus get their personalities? For example, Ryu's personality is nothing like Shinki, right? So he says everyone has two faces. The one they show to the public and the one you keep for yourself, right? And something very useful to the real society, since the Shinjus have just been born not too long ago, they don't have this notion. Essentially saying they just act how they feel. They don't wear their emotions on a sleeve. Like they have their emotions out in front of them. They wear them out in the open, right? So he says they are thus primitive and true to their instincts. Even if they give a different vibe from their original selves, this may be a hint to the original's true personality, right? So it's not a one-to-one to saying Hidari is exactly how Sasuke acts, you know what I'm saying? And when Sasuke is by himself, not necessarily, right? Hidari is very philosophical. He likes to ask a lot of questions. Now, people might dub him as a dunce or an airhead, but you tie it into Sasuke's personality. He's very curious. He likes to ask a lot of questions, especially as a kid. He was always curious about whether what his dad was doing or what Itachi was doing. Matsuri, as for Moegi, we all speculated, you know what I'm saying? We know that Moegi and Konohamaru have some type of tension in terms of possible romance in that future. Shinki, he's always been stoic, and we understand that Ryu is very outgoing and says the first thing that comes to his mind. And Shinki always made it a point to not rely on his emotions. So it can be like Shinki's really fighting a hard internal battle to not be acting like Ryu on a daily basis. And then Bug and Mamushi, as we go on, right? We can definitely tell Bug probably holds a lot of animosity towards the Kara Inners, towards those who have done him dirty. And we see how Mamushi isn't scared to basically say whatever he feels and insult you if he feels like it, right? And we understand Jura is the Ten Tails. The Ten Tails ravages and rampages, but we understand once given sentience, it thinks it's calm and collected, but it still desires to collect all of that chakra. So it's a very interesting nod. We're definitely going to talk about more of this in future, and especially on the podcast. So shout out to the Cloud Ninja podcast. Catch me on the Cloud Ninja podcast. We'll be going over these interview questions further and in more depth on our next episode. But these are the questions that we have for Ikemoto. Shout out to Ikemoto. Shout out to the interviewers who asked these questions. It's your boy Black Child 3. Let me know how y'all feel about it in general, and what type of insights do y'all think? I really like the Shinju insight, right? The Himawari insight was actually interesting. And then the connection with Koji and Momoshiki's ability obviously surprised me that this guy Jura is actually an author. But let me know how y'all feel. It's your boy Black Child. Holla at your mom, holla at y'all, Black Child. Yes, sir. Ski.